Could you
Yeah.
share with us what your journey was in going natural, or even how long you've been natural? I don't know.
Yeah, since 1968, Thanksgiving of 1968. It was my freshman year of college, and I went home with a friend. I lived in DC. We were in Ohio, but she had an aunt that lived in Indiana, so that was closer. And we decided to go there. And I didn't remember this, but the friend I was with said that I said to her one day, "Why don't we go get our hair cut?" And we were at a small, predominantly white college in Ohio, Defiance College in Defiance, Ohio. And we had gotten perms, of course, before we went off to school. But after we got there and our hair started to grow out, it's like, oh my God, what are we going to do now? Because there was nobody in town that would do our hair.
Wow.
So it was the beginning of the Black Power movement on college campuses. And I wasn't dealing with that at all. But it's like if it gave me an excuse to get my hair cut or do something different with it, then so I didn't have to deal with this issue, I would do it. And I'll tell you why it became a pressing issue for us. We decided that we would try to do it on our own, and we lived in a dorm, so we were in the kitchen dorm, a dorm kitchen, and we were doing our hair, and all of a sudden we hear somebody coming down the hall, white, who's like, "Is something burning? Like, do we all need to evacuate the building?" And it was probably 5 or 6 of us in that kitchen doing our hair, just taking turns. None of us had ever really done this before. And we were humiliated.
Dr. Tammy White-Joulivete is a clinical psychologist, licensed cosmetologist, and educator with over 20 years of experience. She is the founder of The Texture of Me, a pioneering initiative that explores the connection between textured hair, mental health, and cultural identity. She coined the term post-traumatic hair syndrome to define the emotional and psychological impact of hair discrimination, trauma, and loss. Dr. Joulivette developed and launched a Texas state-approved continuing education curriculum that trains beauty professionals in textured hair care, trauma-informed practices, and the mental health effects of hair bias. She also offers specialized post-traumatic hair syndrome training, equipping professionals with the tools to recognize, address, and support clients experiencing hair-related trauma. In addition to continuing education and post-traumatic hair syndrome training, she provides diversity, equity, and inclusion workshops, coaching, and consulting to organizations, schools, and salons seeking to create inclusive, healing-centered environments for diverse communities. And in the words of Dr. Tammy Joulivete, great day, great day.
Welcome, welcome. We are here with Dr. Tammy Joulivete. We are here discussing her her association with DEI, and that has to do with being a hair, I want to say specialist. I'm just
Well, you can say hair specialist.
assigning that to you. What do you call yourself? Let me do it that way. It's probably
Well, I
better.
actually like hair specialist because, I think that the term hairstylist takes away the significance of what I'm speaking to about hair. So we're going to take the way you say it, Renee.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm glad to be, I'm glad I got it right. Our special guest today is Dr. Tammy Joulivete, who is a hair specialist.
Yes.
And she has
Natural hair
oh,
specialist.
right, natural, yes. And that's the key ingredient here because that is about embracing who you are, embracing your differentness to even people who are looking like you.
Right.
So that's something that in our community is huge because we come in all shapes, sizes, hues, and hair types of, I guess, what is it called?
Textures.
Texture, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And we have to learn even ourselves how to embrace that. Back in my day, when I was a kid, when I probably can speak even more to this. We used grease. We just got that big tub of grease, blue magic.
Blue Magic, yeah. Or what
Get
is it?
on those.
Emerald? Was it Emerald? Was the other
I
one?
think it was the Imperial or
Imperial, yeah,
Imperial.
Imperial.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Oh my
Um,
God.
and then
No.
later graduating to brick back hard and kinky hair.
Again, Johnson and Johnson was a little slow on the natural tip. They still making perm kits or whatever. They want to get into the natural business. They came to good Fred, told good Fred, offered him a pile of money. Fred turned him down. Now Fred said, after all this time, him doing business with his manufacturers, his credit lines got cut off. There's two things that made a good Fred oil: water and glycerin. Glycerin, as in nitro. So when they cut Fred's lines off, Fred said he had to go to Canada to buy his glycerin because they wouldn't sell to him in the United States. In Canada don't give a damn. You got the money, I'll ship. Fred said when the glycerin showed up, so did the FBI. The FBI wanted to know why again, this is the 70s. Black Panthers is everywhere. They've been blowing up shit. They've been fighting with the police. It's going down. The FBI wanted to know why a black man in Los Angeles needed 500 gallons of glycerin. He explained it to him what was happening, and they let it come through. He got his stuff, but it took, this is the kind of stuff brothers were dealing with in the 70s. Johnson & Johnson came up with their own product for naturals, and it didn't turn your hair red in the summertime. And then they started buying all the advertising on Soul Train. Look at them.
That was the good Fred oil.
Yes.
I
Or
think I like
or
that.
we reverted to Jerry curls, right? Because that was
Oh,
That's
that's
right.
right. Can't forget those Jerry curls. Curls.
The curl art, which is kind of, if you think about it now, the curl of our hair that's curled.
hmm.
We went through a whole, what was that, 6 hour, 7 hour process then to put the curl back in our hair.
Yeah, which
That
already
was
existed. I mean, when I look at my hair now, and I would say, Mom, I can't believe I got a Jerry curl. I already had one.
Isn't it amazing that your eyes will see what you are taught for them to see?
Yes.
We had curly hair. People like you ended up with a texture of hair that was very much like what the Jerry curl was trying to achieve. And you ended up with a Jerry curl.
Yes,
Yeah.
Amazing.
it is.
One
I
of the
think
things I
that,
love, Renee, is that
Mhm.
Tammy and I met through her work. Tammy, do you remember, Liz?
Yes.
I saw you in something. Okay, it might have been in HuffPost. I saw you somewhere, and whatever you said about hair was so profound for me that I ended up reaching out to you. And I love the serendipity nature of this. You responded, and I told you basically, I love what you had to say. Thank you for saying it. You responded. I ended up on your dissertation committee,
Mm-hmm.
and you ended up
Wow.
getting your doctorate. And
Yes.
I loved it because it brought the idea of natural hair to a place that it usually isn't, which is in the academy. Okay.
Yes.
The academy usually does not think that things like that are significant. You knew better.
Yes.
Tell us about your journey to do not only hair and specialize in a certain kind, but to end up making that the basis of your doctoral dissertation.
Thank you so much for asking that, Dr. Don. What I saw was my own personal journey. When I got into the clinical field, it was prior to the clinical field, I had decided to start wearing my hair natural. And
Wait a minute,
then, go
about
ahead.
your
Right, my own hair. So it was my own personal story. right?
Right. But what sort of hair did you have that made yours in some way different?
Oh, I was wearing my hair straight. So to be
Okay.
honest, I had a client call me out, and she, because I'm doing her hair and everything, and she was
Oh.
like, "Well, why don't you wear doing it natural?" She said, "Well, why don't you wear your hair natural?" And I remember telling her, "Will you stay in your lane, please?"
Ah.
And but then she had a point, right? I was like, "Well, why don't I? I'm a hairstylist. What's the big deal?" And so, I decided to take it on. And so when I started the process, that's when the trauma started occurring. And what it looks like is, for me, I would gaze myself in the mirror. I wouldn't think I was beautiful, and then I kept flattening it out. Now I'm just like, ooh, how big can I make it? And then I'd cry just randomly, and I'm like, what is it? And wondering what people would think while I was walking around, what they thought about my hair. Like, I'm more than my hair than I am my hair, right? And so when I saw that, and then my background in the clinical field studying, I realized that this is trauma. And just a sidebar, that's what had me coin post-traumatic hair syndrome. That's a whole nother conversation, but it relates to that. So that's when I saw how mental health and hair correlated. And so I saw that, and it was a great opportunity to expand on it. And then I started having conversations with my clients and other people, and they all had the same similar experiences.
All of us have a story about our hair. All of us do.
Yeah.
And one of the things, and this was what I was trying to get to, and you didn't mention it, Tammy. One of the things I was trying to get to, because we're going to talk about this, we're going to have to be real.
Okay.
One of the things was that you had mixed hair.
Yes.
And in the Black community, if you are mixed, your hair has a looser curl pattern usually.
Mm-hmm.
Kinks are what regular Black folk have. Coils and waves are what mixed people very often have. Now, we know there are all sorts of variations on the theme.
Right.
But yours is the kind of hair that most regular Black folk would think, oh, I wish I had hair like that. What did we used to call it? Good hair. Exactly. We all knew that. And when somebody said good hair, we knew they were talking about hair like yours. I have a mixed Black-white mix. I understand the difference because I have two bio daughters that have regular Black folk hair. And what was interesting to me, which is what you discovered, and this is why it's so important to put this part in here as we're talking about Black hair, is that all of our hair, to some extent, as Black hair, even if we're looking at somebody and envying their mixed hair, ends up having trauma.
Yes.
My baby daughter, my mixed hair daughter, she had probably more trials and tribulations with her hair than the two that had natural hair, just regular old Black hair. And it was like, well, that's interesting. I didn't know they had trauma with their hair, right? But that trauma that you experienced, that anybody else looking at your hair as just a regular Black person would have thought, oh, she got good hair. You were looking at that and thinking, my hair's not good enough. My hair's not good enough. Not a Black person sitting here looking at this that has not sat between somebody's knees and have them yanking on their hair in some way, shape, or form and cursing the fact that they had to deal with this head of hair.
That part, right? That's another trauma within itself, right?
All of that becomes a part of what's there when you look at yourself and you look a different way because you don't look like anybody else that you're seeing in the media, right? Because they all have long flowing locks. And you're also dealing with, in ways that you don't even think about, the kind of trauma that comes as you're growing up and somebody's having to deal with your hair in some way, shape, or form. You don't just sit up and go outside and play. You got to deal with your hair or somebody's going to think you're not cared for. So we got to go do some pulling and tugging to get it where it ought to be so you can be presentable.
That part.
Right.
That's a lot. That's a
Are we
lot.
gonna? And just to add, even what you're saying, we have to go to the salon or to the beauty shop to get our hair fixed. I mean, why does it have to be fixed?
Yeah. Language is so incredibly important. It is
Mhm.
so important. What about those
Absolutely.
hairs, girl? That was like the worst thing you could say to especially a black female.
Mhm.
Oh, well, no. Maybe the kitchen.
Oh yeah,
The
yeah. Which
kitchen might be the harder.
was interesting because the kitchen is like where we all congregate, don't we?
Yes.
That's where the good stuff happens, but not when it came to our hair. For those of you who don't know, the kitchen is the back part back here. Okay.
That
You know,
tends to get overlooked because it's the smaller hairs, which is considered baby hair on other people, right? But
yep.
ours is the kitchen
It's getting real wicked back here. Look at it.
if it's not straight.
Yes.
Um,
And
yeah.
heaven forbid that it goes back into its natural curl pattern, because then you got kinks and you need to handle those. Isn't that amazing? When
Yes.
I
Mhm.
did 2015 or 16, I did a law review article in which I argued that having policies in a workplace that did not allow for Black women to wear their, I really concentrated on Black women, although, Black men were in there too, but that
Mhm.
concentrated on the fact that if you had workplace policies that did not allow Black women to wear their hair in natural hairstyles, that was a form of stereotyped racial discrimination.
Mhm.
Mhm.
The year after that, the city of New York put in a policy. After that, California saw it and said, oh, we need a state policy. And they put in the first state, what we now
Mm.
Crown Act, and New
Mhm.
York State saw it and said, oh, well, we have the first one and it was just for a city. So now we need one for the whole state. So they put theirs in place. But that was the first time that they had ever dealt with this issue, which seems like it would just be a fashion issue, just like you were talking about,
Right.
Tammy. But it's like it's so much more because somebody is making a qualitative judgment about your hair, your natural hair,
Mhm.
doing
Mhm.
anything, machinations to try to make it straight, to look like it's white, which is never going to look like,
Right.
okay? Somebody is actually keeping you out of a job because of their idea of the appropriateness of that. And in fact, I think I'd named the article, My Hair is Not Like Yours,
Yes.
because it's not, and it never will be, no matter what I do to it. And the fact that there was enough for me to have to write a law review article, enough that you had to do a whole dissertation,
Yes.
shows you
Well,
how
isn't that because
serious this is.
people were there were people who were losing jobs, women
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
losing jobs in the public sector, which was not that long ago.
All
And
across, not just public.
because of
It's,
wearing braids, which is
Right.
part of our culture, which is
yep.
even more insulting because you see these other people that come through who don't look like us wearing braids, and it's
Mhm.
perfectly fine.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that is where, when I went into Atlanta, maybe the 2 years ago,
Mhm.
and I saw whenever Tess graduated 2 or 3 years ago, and the woman, the anchor on the news was a Black woman wearing braids. It's
Mhm,
like old things have turned. Things have
mhm,
really flipped around because,
mhm,
getting on television, being the anchor of all things, which used to be a coveted position. Now I don't know so much, but having braids in your hair to signifying that you are not only a Black person, which, sometimes it's still questionable because people don't know that we come in different hues,
mhm,
Mhm.
but then that you are also representing yourself in that way that shows us who you are. And we're used to everyone making sure they're vanilla like
Mhm.
we are. And that's just not happening anymore. And I love it. I love every bit of it. So these are the kind of things for me that all this that just what did they say? Sunlight is the best sanitizer.
Mm.
So,
I
yeah.
love that.
put light on it and see what happens.
Right.
Renee, when that for and I love that, and it would be in Atlanta that something like that happened, right? There
Mhm.
was another woman who did it. In fact, what she did was cut her hair into just a natural. And somebody online said something about it. she responded in a very respectful way and said something like, and they said, you need to change your hair. You don't look like a real person, like a news anchor. So we know what their idea of a news anchor is, right? And she responded very respectfully and said, this is my natural hair. I'm proud of it. You know what they did, right? She was fired.
Her.
Absolutely. And the thing that made me write the news article, the larger review article I did, was that an Alabama court held for the company, where a company had given an offer to a woman who was absolutely qualified. They hired her and then said, well, of course, you have to cut your hair, right? She had been growing her dreadlocks for 10 years.
Yeah.
They said, oh, well, what they can look like. And they said, yours look fine, but you know how some people can be. What? And they took the job
right now,
which is like breach of contract because she'd already said yes to it. And when it got to court, because she sued for race discrimination.
Right.
When it got to court, the Alabama court said, that's just a hairstyle. That's not a basis for being able to sue for race discrimination. And I was like, oh my God, like how many ways can I say I'm so pissed that you did that? And I ended up writing this article that said, yes, that is a type of race discrimination. And I guess it caught on. But I remember doing that article, and I know you can relate to this, Tammy, because this was what you were going through.
Oh, yes.
When I wrote the introduction to it, when you write something like a law review article, and I'm used to writing textbooks and stuff where people all over the world are going to read them, they're going to need them, and they're going to need what I have to say. So I have to make sure they understand it. So I got to take you from point A to point Z, and you're still with me. So I had to explain why this was not just a hairstyle. I had to explain the background of hair in the Black community from slavery on, right? When they cut all of that off, because in some places it was a way to be able to have communion with each other and its status and stuff like that. And what ended up happening was I had to take to my bed. By the time I finished saying that, was because it was the first time I ever had to look at it and say stuff to an audience that was not us, who I didn't have to say things to because we already knew. We understood what it was like to sit between somebody's knees, but I had to explain all of that. I remember just going and I literally had to take to my bed. It was so emotional for me to not only put all of that out there, but to actually have to think about it myself because of the same kind of pain you're talking about being attached to this issue. And I'm like you, it's just hair. But look at how much has happened over. Did you see what happened the other day? As a matter of fact, with the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders?
No, I didn't see that one, no.
Girl, there's a whole conversation around the fact that one of them had her hair in a ponytail.
Wow.
A ponytail. I'm like, why is this the topic of a conversation that takes up any space in our head?
Right.
And it was a whole thing. And it caught my eye because I had done a whole thing, a law review article on them and their pay. And I'm like, and we know that they're used to having a certain kind of look and all that kind of stuff. This was about the fact that she did not have long flowing locks, that she had put it up in a ponytail.
Wow.
Talk about being police. And if they policing them folk like that, you know what they were doing to us in our hair.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, that
And
I don't know.
Speaking to
go ahead.
that, I just wanted to speak to that. When you think about that, and then I think what also triggered even more when I thought about the children that were impacted, the young guy who had his locks cut off on national TV.
Yes.
And you have people watching, then you have people in the stadium, then you have him. And and let me just say, it's a championship, right? So it's not like they didn't see him, but when it comes to championship, now you're going to have to cut it off. And the look, and he's crying, and it's like either he chooses championship or he chooses cut his hair. Like, why would that even be together? And I don't know what really happened to him, but I think the therapy that he needs, and those who ever watched, it's so traumatic. And it didn't have to be that way.
Unnecessarily traumatic. It's like and this was such a
Self-imposed.
You have to come to understand. After I wrote all of that stuff, it was like, this is just about the fact that our hair, that is not like your hair, makes you uncomfortable, so we have to change it?
Mm.
What? How insane is that?
Mm-hmm.
You don't like our hair because it doesn't look like yours,
Mm-hmm.
so we have to change it. But it's just like you knew. There
Mm-hmm.
have been laws about this going back to the days in 1800 when those Black women came through, especially in places like Louisiana where they were mixed too.
Mm-hmm.
Those stigma laws that would not even let you wear your hair certain ways because it was attractive to men. And then when you look at pictures of Black women in slavery, in other places, they tended to have their hair covered, usually in a white cloth, because folks made laws that said, we don't feel like looking at that hair, so you're going to need to do something. You need to cover it up. That is, I mean, to just say the words out of your mouth sounds so crazy.
It is. It is.
That's why I love it that you did this work and
Thank
made
you.
people see it for what it is. This
Yes.
traumatic hair syndrome. I love that.
Yes.
That is, I mean, I'm so sorry that so many of us have it, but I love it that you named it.
Yes. Yeah. And that's what when I've been speaking at different conferences and sharing about post traumatic hair syndrome, I had people saying, thank you for giving a name to it.
Do it.
Right. And,
Absolutely.
to expand on that conversation is putting it in the clinical field through I'm doing further research to give validations of it. And, expanding the conversation is more than just hair. And even to a point about, we talked about post-traumatic hair syndrome, this is another sidebar where we have the alopecia and all of that, so there's so much more to post-traumatic hair syndrome, but this is the starting phase of it, and doing more research and validated that it's in the DSM, and it is something that clinicians and therapists and people acknowledge and provide support and therapy for people who deal with that.
Get out.
Mhm.
It's in
What
the
does DSM stand for?
Okay, it's for the our clinical book, and we have the symptoms. So I'm that's what I'm saying. I'm having it put in, but it's more
oh,
doing further research to validate it. So I'm working on a research project right now, to give validation for it, and then training clinicians and therapists on what post traumatic hair syndrome is, and offering that as a way of people dealing with that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And part of
Does
what,
your definition,
go
excuse me,
ahead.
does your definition of post-traumatic hair syndrome include people who have maybe had some problems, or they are needing to have what do you call it, have it fixed, or something went wrong during a session of perming or something? And
It's
do those people fit into that definition, or is it just for people who are dealing with how it's culturally affected?
No, it's a broad context, right? The definition itself is more of the trauma with our hair. So it's more about when they say
That's
past
what you
tense trauma, right? And
Mhm.
so what I'm discovering, just to add to that, is people don't even realize they have it, right? So I was in a conference and I remember a lady, she has locks, and she said one guy kept telling her, oh, I love your snakes. And she ignored him. He kept saying, I love your
Mhm.
snakes, right?
Mhm.
And she had to tell him they're not. I think she didn't. No, she didn't respond to him, but she felt so bothered by that. The next day, she questioned if she should wear her hair out or put it up. Like
Yeah.
that's the trauma experience. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so it speaks to so much a variation of trauma relating to hair, particularly textured hair, because that's what spoke to me. But then
Mhm.
as I expand and have conversations with other people, there's so many variations of trauma with hair that we don't even talk about. So
Mhm.
did it answer your question, Renee?
I think so, because I think you're focusing, because I was wondering if I could add into that. I don't know if this has happened to you before, but it's happened to
Mm-hmm.
me, where I thought I was going to be one thing and it turned out to be another.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to go home with something, my whole appearance changed because it didn't happen the way I thought it was going to have happened.
Having your hair
And
hair to slide.
going to get your hair done,
Mhm.
especially when you're making a major move like color cutting, that kind of thing. And it's
Never had.
happened to me, and I wonder now that I'm saying it out loud, is it was it more traumatic for me because I already had traumatic syndrome, the
Yes.
post-traumatic hair
Yes.
syndrome,
And it's
or
because
was it?
it's a
Mhm,
triggering thing, right? Because that wasn't the first time, but when that happened, you was like, you know,
it's even
wow,
worse.
like this is not what I asked for. Then they get all
Mhm,
emotional, and that's where the emotion stop, and then questioning, and then it can trigger where like you're left with self confidence, even self love. You
yeah.
know, and then
Mhm.
it's funny because it's as common as it may occur, where it's like I remember when I used to wear my hair straight, like if it was raining, oh, I ain't going nowhere.
Oh, absolutely.
Hmm.
And we weren't going to be swimming either. Don't let
Changes
my
No,
your whole behavior, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
because
yeah,
get in the water.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you
Uh,
see how all that goes in. So yes, Renee,
mhm,
that's a sign of it, and that's I tell people it's silent, but yet so loud.
Hmm.
Yeah.
mhm,
And I think a part of what that feeling is that you're talking about, Renee,
Hmm.
is, and this goes back to what you said, Tammy, it's so deep seated. We've had this discussion about our hair for
Yes.
our entire lives, especially if we're girls. And the idea
mhm,
of not looking like it's supposed to look, right? Whatever that
Mhm.
supposed to is in your head ends up
mhm,
feeding into that whole idea of it's not looking like it's supposed to. It's not looking like it, which means that I'm not looking like I'm supposed to. I'm not
Mhm.
as presentable as I'm supposed to be. That
mhm,
Yeah.
that's the thing. When I had dreadlocks 11 years before,
Hmm.
and I cut them off after 4 years because it was just too much hair. I'm used to wearing a really short natural. Uh,
Hmm.
when I got them back 3 years ago, my hair had changed in that 11 years. I was 11 years older. The person who put them in, just did like straight things instead of putting it in a grid. So it didn't come out like I wasn't used to my scalp showing. I wasn't used to having as many grays, and grays just have a life of their own. God bless them. I love them because they like do their thing. Like, I don't care what you want me to do. I'm just going to do what I want to do,
Hmm.
which is a part of getting older, right? That's why I appreciate them. But when you're used to having in your head that conversation that says everything has to be nice and straight, it has to be all patted down, and then you just let it go, that's the whole conversation right there in a natural hair context,
Hmm.
right? Of wearing dreadlocks, because they're still just like from the time you were little, that whole thing about how you are supposed to look if you're looking presentable with your hair.
Hmm.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah. And I want
Tammy,
to speak back to real quick
uh-huh,
with the DSM. It's a Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorder, right? And
mm,
every I say 2 to 3 years they update it with different symptoms and things like that. So that's the book. That's the book that we go to when people see clinicians and therapists, and that we're diagnosing. Most of clinicians do, and that's where we go to our book. And so that's where I am a stand for it to be in the book, so we can address that and people can be supported in that. So I just wanted to put that in.
Tammy, I
yeah, that's
love the fact
important.
this was, you took this, and Renee, I know you love this sort of stuff. You took this from just some issue you were having with your own hair
Hmm.
to your clients then, right?
Yes.
And then it's like, you know what? They're not talking about this in schools, like these
Hmm.
cosmetology schools, like they should be. I go and they don't know how to deal with curly hair like mine.
Right.
Mhm,
Deal with this as a curriculum issue,
Right.
right? And then so you do that, then you go get your doctorate about it,
Right.
and you're talking about this needs to be in the DSM. Oh my gosh, how many ways can I say I love you for doing that work?
Thank you. Thank you, Dr.
It's
Dunn.
Well,
incredible,
I
isn't
think
it?
it's a, especially since if you get that in there, that will help these guys that are in the military now who have been told that they can no longer use it as a medical excuse for having hair bumps when they need to be clean
Mm,
shaven.
wow.
And they have been getting like a doctor's waiver so that
Mm-hmm.
they could not uh, shave down to the very, the core of the skin because of the hair bumps.
Right.
And now they have discontinued that because they know it affected Black people,
Mm-hmm.
men. And
Mhm.
if they can't wear their hair or can't shave without a problem, they're not going to cover it. So you need to go ahead and get out. That will be your
Oh
way of
wow.
getting out of the military.
Well, Renee, pseudofolliculitis barbae, I mean, it's a thing. PFB, which is what that is, it's just razor bumps, right? That's already
Mhm.
recognized as a dermatological condition.
Mm-hmm.
It is, which is why they
Military,
could get the waiver.
if you were in the army, that's on a whole different scale. They can
Mm-hmm.
just
Mhm.
that crap if they want to. And it's sort of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation, because you don't want to put yourself in the situation where you say, I have a mental issue about this, because then that puts you in another category for being able to serve. And we're talking
Mhm.
about that hair on your face that they have already shown through research does not get in the way, like they try to make it seem like it does, of things like safety, things like masks,
Right.
right? They
No,
said no,
it
it
doesn't
doesn't
have
matter. And what
anything to
the
do with that.
countries where they have to wear masks and stuff,
What
it's
about your
just
hair? The hair is what would, believe me, the hair on your head will impede your mask before a hair on your face will.
Mm-hmm.
And that is just an incredible lie, which we've been, this is what we do now. We just make up stories and make everybody else prove we're wrong. But mhm,
That part.
yeah.
Tammy, do you see
Right.
there being any difference in what you do and how it's received because of what's been happening in this administration that came in on the 20th of January 2025, and we're now in July, so for the last 6 7 months.
You're talking about the DEI.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's a couple of things that's there for me. Strategically, I think for myself, I'm reverting what that is, right?
Oh, girl,
Right.
Mhm.
aren't we all?
So that's like let's okay, you want to call it that, then let me call it something else. You
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
know, and when we can bring the mental health component to it, I feel like it speaks volume, right? Versus it's just something that it's just a hair. So now that with the research, like no, let me show you. This is research. And then
Mm-hmm.
I broaden it out. It's not even just a black thing. You want to say it's a black? Let me show you who else is saying this, right? So it's expanding the conversation and pivoting the listening of what people think what DEI is and showing that it's more to DEI than just what they're saying. So, yeah,
Is exactly why you're here,
right.
because we understand that people saw the tossing out of DEI without actually realizing what it was in the first place.
Mm,
Our basic question is for everyone, what's DEI got to do with whatever, right?
right.
And it shows up in surprising ways. So for you, what's DEI got to do with natural hair? What's natural hair got to do with DEI? The thing about it is, just like you said, it's got to do with stuff we just hadn't necessarily thought about it that way. And when you look at subject by subject by subject, if you ask somebody, anybody, do you really think people should like not be able to get a job based on the fact that their hair is a certain way naturally? People would go, okay, that sounds crazy. No,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but they didn't understand that's part of what DEI is about. It's
Yeah.
trying to include people that have hair that's not straight,
Right.
people that
Mhm.
have hair that does not look like yours. It manifests
Yeah.
itself in a lot of different ways, but at bottom, all it's about is just trying to include the reality of who is here on this planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't care
Right.
what you call it. I don't care what we move this to. Can we still
Just keep
have
making the products for it. That's all we
exactly?
want. Because
Mm-hmm.
I tell you, the hair stories I have, my own, my sisters, my own girls, and my girls had two different kinds of hair,
Mm-hmm.
which is and one in the same head. The
Right.
front part of it was kinkier, and the back was just really very fine and straight. And what do you do with that? Who teaches you that part what to
Mm-hmm.
do? And at that time, I will tell you, the only thing that worked, the only thing we had that I felt worked was pink lotion. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm. Oh
I
yeah.
remember lotion.
Yes, that was the only
Yeah.
thing then. But now my granddaughter and my granddaughters have way better products. And you
Mm-hmm.
can see they're here. I mean, they're still very young. One's one, and the other one is 6. So
Mm-hmm.
you can see the difference in how they wear their crown of
Mm-hmm.
glory,
Mm-hmm.
because they have products that actually can successfully make them have the look that they want to, even at this very, very young age.
Yeah.
They are, able to facilitate that without with it just being an over-the-counter product.
Yeah.
Before, we were going to get our hair, straightened or put the curls back in, like we just discussed earlier. It was always something that had to be chemical
Okay.
related.
Right. And I want to speak to
Now,
that, Renee, because it's a great
yes.
point you add to that real quick, where the stand that we're doing now give way for us to even get a glimpse of what's happening with them. Before it was immediately, a child would get a relaxer. I remember I was watching something with Chris Rock, the documentary about the good hair,
Oh
and it's
yeah.
like
Yeah.
3 or 4 years old automatically got a relaxer. But the,
Mm-hmm.
the what we're doing now is opening and creating a whole new look on hair that we're even, I say grace, because what that's there for me is allowing young girls, young boys as well, start wearing their natural hair, allowing us to see it, because it was immediate,
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, it was either press or either relaxers, you know what I'm saying? Immediately.
Right.
And then now it's like, your grandchildren are able to wear their hair, and we're like, oh, it's so beautiful, and no matter what it is, so that's just
Mm-hmm.
awesome. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because this is what the work is about. It really
Exactly.
is.
Right.
Yeah.
And why
And
would we
don't
stop that?
not contributing to that.
Oh yes. Oh yes. I
Yeah, the
really
work
do.
you're doing.
Yeah.
Hey, tell us what
Mm-hmm.
happened when you went to the hairdresser and they didn't know how to deal with your hair because it was curly.
Uh, I remember one lady had me on dry for about an hour and a half, and
About
my
to say, you
ears
said which
burned.
time, right? Which
Yeah,
time?
and 'cause she didn't know how to do my hair. And if I be honest, Dr. Don, that's what happened to become a hairstylist. Because nobody really know how to do my hair. That is it. I love my mom, and she
Mm.
did the best she
Oh, so
could.
you were doing it yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
I learned to do my long early.
Did you
And
have a white mama?
say it again.
Did you have a white mother that
Oh no,
wasn't
my mother's Korean. My mother's Korean.
Korean? Okay,
Yes.
so she was used to
Oh.
have straight hair.
Oh no, hold on. My mom has
Oh,
curly
okay.
hair. She has curly hair, but loose curls. But
Oh,
her, and even see, let me tell you, there's a whole nother culture where in her
That would
culture
be
it's supposed to be straight too. You
right.
see?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
She's been
So
handed down the kind of traumas all over the place. I
yeah,
tell
and so
you.
she was, she learned because of my dad, African American, black, what that our family on that side would it be like, I need to have my hair. So she learned, but I'm gonna tell me, I had some chemical burns for days. But once I saw that no one really knew how to do my hair, I said, I started doing my own hair. And it's funny, but people ask me, what made you become a hairstylist? I said, because nobody know how to do my hair. That is exactly why I became a hairstylist.
mhm.
Yeah.
All
And
about
was
making
it
it happen.
curly and they were used to doing straight hair, or it was because the black folk knew how to do kinky hair, but they didn't know how to do straight hair? I mean,
Yeah, it was a little bit of both ends, and then
Mhm.
my mom didn't see the importance of taking me often either, you know. So, and then my great grandmother was so hard. She'd do stuff and then like pat it, and I look at old pictures. I'm like, oh Lord, why? But she did the best she could. It's the pat. Once that pat was done, she was finished, and I look in the mirror. I'm like,
Oh,
that
you
was
always got
not
that pat
me.
going. Get that pat in. That makes everything right.
Yeah, like it's done. I look at the picture. You know how they had the Only Mills pictures in the church? You remember
Yep.
those? And I
Yep.
looked at
I
that picture. I
remember.
was like, mm-mm.
I have
but
such ugly pictures with my hair too.
I love that the universe brings us what we are here for in
Mhm.
such, to me, miraculous ways.
Yes.
And there's nothing like the commitment you get to a cause that creates passion in you for
Yes.
having lived that experience.
Yes.
Without having lived it,
Mhm.
you would have felt a totally different way and probably would be doing something totally different. You'd be a
Yeah.
dentist.
Yeah.
Look, just fixing people's teeth as opposed to dealing with their whole self because of the one universal thing they have, which is their hair.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I believe all of that because even I remember when I first decided to go in the clinical field and all my cohorts were doing different research study at the beginning, I didn't know what mine would be. And then it just, the pandemic happened and it just started opening up and I just started wearing my hair natural. And then I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is it. And I feel I have my work cut out for me
Oh.
because there's just so much to this conversation that things expand on that I'm
Mhm.
willing to be the difference and
Mhm.
transform how we are viewed for our beauty and our self-worth within
Yeah,
ourselves
exactly.
that
Right.
exudes everywhere. So yeah,
Mhm.
perfect.
I think
And
it's
all
so
that dismantling you have to do to remantle it, because that's a lot more work than you, I don't even know if you thought about it this way, but you have to take down all those behaviors, ideas, thoughts, and
yeah.
just, continued uh doubling down on this is the way to do things, because there are some people that are still doing that pressing comb
Yeah.
and finding new ways to do it. But if that's what you want to do, that's fine, but it's not what you
Right.
have to do. And I think that
And
that's the
that's
thing that's
the rub,
different.
Renee.
Yeah.
That's the rub.
Mm,
Giving choice. If they want to wear a relaxer straight, hey, do you.
Mhm.
But
right.
then you do have an
Yeah.
option. You don't have to be forced and that kind of beauty. You can have another beauty that what you was born
Hmm.
Yeah.
And
with.
that's the one, those are the beauties I've always found to be the people that I really admire, or
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
people who look like they have a look. It's
Mm-hmm.
their look,
Right.
and a lot of that is just well, first of all, recognizing who you are. And it doesn't have to be the same thing next year. It just could be, this is who you are right now.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I can do within my ability.
Right.
And I want to look like myself when I do that.
Okay,
Tim,
cool.
I was going to ask you about your research. We've seen research now being dismantled within the last 7 months.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, any sort of research that has anything to do with DEI, anything that has to do with DEI, and certainly research. I'm wondering about whether you think that's going to impact your ability to be able to do actually the full range of things that you would ordinarily do with the research, both get people interested in doing it and not feeling afraid that if they participated, that it would somehow be against what the administration wants, or
Mhm.
the funding for it, whether people would back off thinking this may piss off the powers that be, and we know who that is. It starts with a T and ends with a P and has an R and P and end up in the middle of it. But those kind of things are impacting in a huge way what ends up being done. I don't know if you all saw this, but the other day on The View, did you see this? That the other day on The View, they were talking about something Trump had said about Obama. Maybe that video he put out of
Yeah,
him getting arrested and stuff. That AI
amazing.
video. And Trump responded to it. So your favorite person on there, Renee, said that that Trump was jealous of Obama because he had all the things that Obama did not have.
Mm.
Or Obama had all the things he didn't have, which was, I think, like looks. He was slim, he was good looking, and he was smart or something. Well,
Can speak well. He was just
they got a
everything you
letter.
can think of.
They got a letter, and the letter said, of course, that this was inappropriate, and I'm not quoting from here, but it was basically, if you don't want to see what happened to the Stephen Colbert show, then you need to, clean up your act.
Oh, I didn't know that part. That happened just recently.
That was
Wow.
this morning.
He's so funny. You can
Yeah.
get his goat anytime you want to.
Oh
All you
yeah.
have to do is say the key words, Obama,
Yeah. And the thing
um,
about it is that
Central
people
Park 5.
are to it, which is what what my concern is for somebody doing something. Now, we've talked the whole time. We've been talking about how absolutely needed what you're doing is.
Mhm.
And there would be, I'm sure, cosmetic companies, if nothing else, that would be willing to back this kind of research. Can you imagine, or have you felt the impact already of the administration's position on all things even remotely related to DEI? And I say remotely because it doesn't even have to be, but they will get rid of it anyway. Having an impact on your ability to move forward with the kind of research that you want to do, either in funding or in people or publications that come out of it.
So are you saying, do I see a possibility of an impact on it? And no, I mean, it's my vision. And I know that Source Universe has given me this vision. If it was for me to do, frankly. And um, it has been fulfilled. And that's what I stand in. And the impact that it's making in the world, impact is made in the world has been tremendous. So to answer your question, it's just part of what they do. And I'm doing what I'm doing, and it's a done deal. So
Yeah.
that's the answer to that.
Stuff. You know,
Exactly right.
I can't stop you from doing that, but this came from something so much higher than you until I'm not even worried about it.
Right,
And the only
exactly.
thing that you can do is tell me I can't get funding from the federal government. It's not that as if I'm going to not have a business that deals with what my business needs are, which is definitely an audience in the people who are, people of color. And that's just how it's going to be. I don't, they would have to show some reason why you couldn't exist as a business, private business,
Mhm.
even though they are willing to challenge it, as we've seen them do this pressure on Walmart or Target or you name the store, or like they're doing to Costco. Costco won't back down though.
Yeah.
And you just look, you can spend your money, you want to spend your dollars, and the rest of us in the country should be pissed that this is where you're spending the time and energy rather than maybe the people who just had a flood happen in the southern Texas, where they or hill country Texas, where people are still missing. Maybe you want to put those dollars that we already gave you over there.
Just to
The
help.
outrage, the outrage and the things that are so that have no reason to be an outrage. You're making it so. You're
Yeah.
making our country less stable. You're making our country uh, look like an idiot on the world stage where we used to command the world stage. Everybody else is going around us because you just need to be right. And you just need to force yourself on other people, your business, your thoughts, your attitudes. They don't have any place for the rest of us. And the rest of us don't have to comply. And that's what I hope that people will start to see. We do not have to comply.
Right.
You can write all the letters you want. You can sue all the times. It doesn't matter. You're trying to wear me down. And the thing is, I may not make it come through across the field. I think it was actually Martin Luther King that said that. I may not be there with you. I may not make it with you, but I am definitely going to be marching that way and leading you to the promised land.
Yeah. I
And
think,
go ahead.
Tammy, that's why passion like yours is so important,
Mhm.
because it doesn't depend on anything external. And when I say that, yes, the support would be awesome,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
But think about Black farmers. Right now, Black farmers are kind of looking, and when you get white folk talking about, I'm sorry, I don't feel wrong. I mean, sorry for y'all, because look at what Black farmers have been going through all this time. They're complaining, the farmers are complaining about not getting, under Trump's policies, not getting the kind of help that would help them. And in fact, they're having to shut down farms. And people are looking and going, what do you think happened to the Black farmers? You don't see them complaining. And the whole time they were not given the resources that the Department of Agriculture admitted was based on racism. They did not give them, in a court case, admitted to the fact that they were not giving them those resources. And what did the farmers do? The same thing Dr. Joulivette would do. They made it happen anyway.
Yeah.
because that's what your
Mhm.
makes you do. Because when you know that this is what you're here for, it's
Mhm.
like, okay, you close that door, I'm gonna go look for another one
Right.
because I understand that this is not about me. It's about something a whole lot bigger than me. It's not about an administration. You blocked that. You made it harder for me, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna stop because this is important stuff that needs to be done. And the
Mhm.
truth is, you know, you were sent here to do it.
Yes. You know, it's funny when we think about the presidency and all that that goes on, and people and upset about who was chosen, right? And they were like, "Well, how do you feel about?" It? I said, "They chose who they chose. People gonna choose who they gonna choose. I choose me, and in choosing me, then I'm in alignment of what my purpose is, and then it's a done deal."
Mhm.
Brought up the feelings.
Yes, but you see that's it. The feelings that it brings
Right.
up that we just it's like considered normal in a sense, but when
Mhm.
you shift it and you look at the post traumatic aspect of it, and then the relation to how it affects our mental health, it's like wait a minute, what's
Yeah.
this I'm experiencing? And so it's awesome to give a name so we can identify it, then address it. Where like you be all right, get over it. No, no.
Why should I have to?
Yes.
Tammy, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Do you have like a group that you're choosing from? Are you soliciting for people to be a part of your research?
Thank you for asking, Dr. Don. I have right now we're focusing on women from Philly, and we're expanding. We're going to look at this more of African American or Black identifies Black or mixed with textured hair from Philly, Houston, and Atlanta. Right.
Mm,
And it's just that collective, and then we'll expand it, but just to start the research study. And you know the questions also will be trauma related as far as the survey, right? And it's the whole context is the self-identity, social comparison, and self-worth. And so that's what we're doing. And so we're, like I said, like you were asking, where we're collecting the data, those are the three places right now.
mhm. How'd you choose
Well, I got
those?
some people for you if you need some.
Okay, yes, perfect. I have a lady that I'm working with. She actually does different type of qualitative or quantitative research for businesses,
Mhm.
and she stated that we needed to look at certain areas that she can actually research to see people who actually identify as being Black. That's how we actually was able to look at that. And the areas that seem to have the most people that identified as being Black was the areas that we chose.
Been enough participants, or have you gotten that far with it
Well,
yet?
no,
Or
we're working on that because we're looking to have at least 400 participants,
okay.
Mm. Oh, do they a certain age group?
adults 18 and up.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Well,
thank you
that's
for
two of my
asking.
participants, so two of them can't make it. They're
Okay.
they're not quite there yet.
Okay.
You'll be
Because
on your
the
third study by the time.
I mean, I'm gonna continue having to study and do some collaborative work as well. Like I said, I really see that I picked something that I have my work cut out for me. You know, like it's a
Mhm.
lifelong thing, which I'm excited about because I'm actually passionate about it. You know?
Yeah.
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 There's so many aspects to it until I can see
Mm.
you working on one part at one point and later working on something else that I mean, because this hair thing is just huge
Yeah.
It is.
in ways that we've never seriously had to think about. And I was what 60 or 70 or 71 when I
Mhm.
wrote that article and ended up having to take to my bed because it was so traumatic to have to explain to the world our hair and why this wasn't just a hairstyle.
Mhm.
I didn't even realize I was carrying all of that. I
Yes, that's the part though, right?
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
And the
You
thing
have
is,
to
It feels so much
explain it.
lighter.
now
Mhm.
since I was 17 years old and I'm 74. And I
Yeah.
absolutely am committed to. I have not straightened my hair since 1968 when I went off to college. And for me to be carrying that much trauma around natural hair that I wore for decades, having worn it unnaturally for the 17 years before is amazing. I mean, think of
Mhm.
it, how much that ended up being a part, how deep it had to be to
Mhm.
that much longer still be impacting me so much that I had to take to my bed when I just had to explain it to somebody.
Mm.
Well, you know, my Aunt Tony used to wear her little fro,
Mhm.
and I had hair down my back. And guess who wanted to have her hair cut so she could have a little fro like her auntie?
Really?
Mhm.
Oh,
6th grade. Yeah, you don't remember that? My mom kept my hair in a brown paper bag till I was grown and found it in the attic somewhere or somewhere hidden. I wanted my hair cut off because I just didn't understand
Mm.
yeah.
why it had to be all of this. And Aunt Dawney she looks just fine. You know, you're the only person I knew in my life that had hair that short. Aunt Jean did too, but her wasn't a decision like the way yours was a conscious decision. I'm cutting my hair off.
Mhm.
But it was short like that. So I wanted mine short. And my mom, I begged her. Finally, she let me do it when I was in 6th grade.
Wow.
Wow.
You know, I
My
had
hair is short.
um, in the summer when I only have them for 3 weeks, and she was African, and she was the only Black student in the class. And, you know, we went through the class. She comes to see me at the beginning of the fall semester. And she said, okay, so you noticed anything? And I didn't really know her. You know, this was not somebody I had a whole relationship with and all of this. And I said, no, like, what's going on? And she said, how can you not know? This is my hair. And I thought about it and I realized that she had worn braids that were really long. And this was before people really started wearing them really long, just a couple of years ago. And they were some colors or something, but I don't usually look at people like that.
Right.
The only reason I noticed it was because it stood out in a class, because not only was she the only Black student, but she had all of this going on and she had these nails going on. So she said, I took it off. And I said, oh, what happened? And she said, you happened. And I said, what do you mean?
Mm.
And she said, every day you came in class and you just had a short natural. She said, and I had never thought about wearing my hair like that before, ever.
Mm.
She said, I had to have all of this. And she said, when I saw how you were, and you were just like a normal person, and you carried
Mhm.
yourself with such self
Right.
confidence, she said, I decided to do it. She said,
Mm.
my mother and my aunties had a fit. She
Mm.
said they would not let it go. They said, no man is going to date you if you cut off
Wow.
hair, if you just have your natural hair.
Mm.
She said, your life is over. And she said, I decided that anybody that wanted me for my hair, I wasn't interested in them anyway. And I mean, that was so far from where
Mm.
we've been until it was not
From
funny.
the summer to the fall.
Like I
I'm
want to
telling
put hearts in there. That was so moving. Hearts. That's so beautiful.
But
Yeah.
3 weeks, just three. I usually have them for 13, in a regular semester. 3 weeks, and she had completely turned it around. And I said, well, what about dating? Because, they're in college. She said, if they can't take my hair, my regular natural hair, I'm not interested.
Mm.
You go, girl.
That is so
Because
beautiful.
that's what they're gonna find when you relax. This is
Just
Yeah,
take
all
it off.
you.
yeah, yeah. But it just shows you, too, how much of a sense of ourselves we have wrapped up in that hair. I'm not okay if I'm not able to have this long flowing hair, whatever
Mhm.
I have to do to get it.
Mm.
That's
Yeah.
something. So I loved it because she got to be who she was.
That's a beautiful part. Yeah.
Mhm,
Right.
mhm.
Right. I'm getting ready for
Well,
that.
thank you, Tammy, so
And
much for
I would just add one more
Anytime.
thing, eczema. Don't forget eczema.
Yes. That's what I'm
'Cause
saying. We got the work cut out for us, right? Like it's
yeah,
just a whole
that was what
thing.
I had to deal with my kids. I remembered that just because you said it. It's been so long. I
Yeah.
forgot that part. But yes, the eczema was a real challenge for me.
Yeah.
Two of my
Yeah.
kids.
Well, good luck
Yeah,
with it.
thanks again. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
Appreciate you.
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 And anytime, Dr. Don, you know I love you. Thank you
Oh,
so much.
thank you, Tammy.